Hi, my name is Matt and I'm excited to join the Fishing Has No Boundaries crew today. So I've been fishing all my life and even I find it intimidating or overwhelming when I walk into a sporting goods store and see the aisle upon aisle of fishing gear. So it's hard to know what to buy, when to use it, how to use it, or frankly where to even begin. My goal today is to provide a little bit of clarity and set you up with a rig that is a tried and true approach and one that's going to catch you fish in the majority of situations. So with that, to begin, of course, we're going to need a fishing pole. Now, poles come in all shapes and sizes, and really we want to stick to something middle of the road to get started. Once we have a fishing pole, we'll need to get set up with a fishing reel. Often these are sold as a set, the reel and the pole together, which really makes it simple. This is called a spinning reel. You can tell that by the open bail it has here, which allows your line to feed out as you cast. They do also make a spin cast or push button reel, which is one where you hold the button while you cast and then let go when you're ready for your bait to go out into the water. That is the most simple approach and the most commonly used type of reel. So that is my recommendation to start out. Once we have a pole and a reel, we would need to put some line on the reel. Sometimes it is sold with line on there already, which I count as a win. But if you want to buy the line separately, you can go ahead and do that. Many types of brands and kinds of fishing line out there. But what I always start out with is a 6 to 8 pound test monofilament. That is my go-to in most situations. So once we have the fishing pole, the reel, and the line, we're going to need something to put our bait on and hopefully hook the fish with. So for that, we can either use a hook or a jig. Now, this is your standard lead head jig. Again, they come in different sizes, different shapes. In most scenarios, you want to use bigger gear for bigger fish, but a little bit smaller gear is going to afford you the opportunity to catch a wider variety of fish. So this right here on the front is called the eye, and that eye is going to get cleared out of paint, and that's going to allow your line to go through and how you're going to attach it to your line. We can also use a hook, as I mentioned. However, this hook does not have much weight to it, as you can see. It's very light. And so if we are using a hook underneath a bobber or even without a bobber, we would need to use some sort of weight above the hook. This is called a split shot, which attaches to your line maybe a foot up, and that split shot is going to make sure that your hook goes down in the water column where the fish are. Once we have the hook, the sinker, or a jig, and no sinker, we can attach a bobber. Now, this here is the most common type of bobber. It's called a clip-on bobber. You can see it has a small hook. Now that hook wraps around the line, and that's what holds the bobber in place. If you cast this out into the water, your bobber is going to sit on top of the water, it floats, and your bait is going to sit down where the fish are. Once you have a bite, those fish are going to pull the bobber down, and that's going to inform you that you have a fish on. You can set the hook and reel that fish in. Now lastly, to attract the fish, of course, we need a bait. They do make all sorts of artificial baits, but I always recommend starting out with a worm or a night crawler as a tried and true approach. That's going to catch you the most fish in the most scenarios and the most type of fish, frankly. So you'll just put that on your hook. It'll sit in the water like so, and hopefully you'll get a fish to come by. So with that, that is just about everything. Last you'll need is something to cut the line with, either scissors or a pair of fingernail clippers. Those will work as well. Know that if you are going out on your own, you will be required to buy a Wisconsin fishing license, either through a sporting goods store or the Wisconsin DNR website. But if you are fishing through the Fishing Has No Boundaries event, that license requirement is waived. Hey, it's been great talking with you today, and thank you so much for your time. I do hope you learned something, and get out there and enjoy yourself. That is what it's all about.